Howdy, howdy. Hello, welcome, welcome. We just started. So if you would like to, make sure to go stop on by on YouTube. Check out the live stream there. I'll be taking questions there as well as on TikTok. However, you have the opportunity for better audio quality on the TikTok or on the YouTube end. Oh, no audio. No audio. Strange. I think that that's a good question. How about now? Can you hear me now? Is that better or worse? Still nothing? Still no sound. Okay. Well, that I can't explain because it was working in. What if I just do this? Now you should hear sound, but I don't think it'll be synced with my mouth. Daddy Roger, thank you for the galaxy. Is the sound synced with my mouth? It is. Really? That's surprising, but okay. Great. Anyway, should we get started? Nuclear diamond battery sounds wild. It is wild. It's a real thing and it's wild. It's not going to change the world because the nuclear power that it outputs is really, really small, but it's pretty good. Like it'll be useful for pacemakers, things like that. Yeah, I assumed as much because the video is not coming from the same place as the audio is. I'm just puzzled by the fact that Daddy Roger, thank you again for the level up sparks, and Bigga, thank you for all of the sunglasses. I appreciate that. Just put a large mirror and sit back. Let me actually verify that it's synced up on my on the YouTube end as well. Yes, it is. That's strange. Right, so let's just answer some questions. I know it's not perfectly synced, but it'll be the best we can do. Do you think the Bible could be true if you applied time travel to it? Probably not. A really hard time with the Higgs field. I suppose that's natural. Yes, natural. Big fan. What are your thoughts on loop quantum gravity? I'm not well educated on it. I didn't take any courses on it. It's a complicated topic. There was a nice review that I read about a year ago, which was very very compelling. It solves some nice problems, but again, I didn't look into the details, so I'm not an expert, but I wouldn't count it out entirely. What's the explanation for why laws of physics interact with excited wave functions? That's just definitionally how they work, right? The wave functions are governed by these laws of physics, or rather the laws of physics describe how the wave functions behave. I guess I don't know what the question is. Are solar flares hot or just electrical waves? Oh no, they gotta be really hot. Hey, Lenka, welcome. Have you reviewed any research done on how gravity affects neurons when people are in space? I haven't. I need a mathematical framework for finding the variable that causes phase changes. Look up, it's a condensed matter thing, so look up first order and second order phase transitions. Is there a max temperature in the universe if nothing can go faster than light? Sort of, insofar as you'll make something collapse into a black hole if you reach a certain temperature. How hard is your PhD? I enjoyed it, but it's hard, right? How were you able to balance your social life and your PhD research? I wasn't. I didn't have a social life. I was married. That was it. I have finals in electromagnetic fields in 2 days. What's the best channel to study? I don't know. I'm not familiar with the educational channels out there besides mine, I guess. Why haven't I figured out time travel yet? Get off my back. Is it possible that the universe is infinitely repeating away? It's possible. We can't rule it out. What's something you wish to see achieved in your lifetime in regards to physics? I'd like to, know how quantum gravity works. Thoughts on geometric unity? I haven't read it because it's not really serious physics. Open a box in space, close it, then bring it to Earth. Will the box collapse due to vacuum? Depends on the strength of the box. What masters did you do? I have a master's in physics. Do you think that we will ever discover a way to go faster than light? I doubt it. Sun goes out, can Jupiter gas giant be ignited? No, not really. It's not big enough. Does cold exist? I mean, conceptually, sure. Thoughts on the latest dark energy actually being more variation in time? I'm not convinced, and you should be either until I verify their claims with other datasets rather than just a single dataset. Why don't batteries burst into flames when immersed in water, lithium being super explosive? Well, in principle, they are isolated from their outside environment, right? If I would fall into a black hole, will I freeze to death or be stretched out to death? You'll be stretched out to death. How many dimensions do we exist in? 4. 3 in space, 1 in time. Can I use magnets to accelerate my craft? No. Well, yes, but they just have to be not on your craft. How fast are atoms orbiting, and do they affect time? So there are relativistic effects when we talk about, like, for example, the gold atom. The reason why gold is because of a relativistic effect. Do you do any coding? Occasionally for work, but it's not often. Do you think the pressure coming from outside the universe is what white holes? What pressure coming from outside the universe? Do you have a doctorate? I do. That's what it says in the description, doesn't it? Why do scientists call it spin instead of a different word if it's not spinning? Because it has the characteristics of something that is spinning. It is angular momentum. Do you believe in aliens? I'm sure they exist, just not here. What is spin? Spin is an intrinsic angular momentum of fundamental particles. Are we determined? I kind of suspect so. Do you think Michael Faraday would actually have been rated higher if he had an actual physics education? He was brilliant already. Got 90% in your quantum mechanics exam? Congrats. Why does Physics 1 feel so different from what you do in the rest of physics? Because it's the foundation, it's the basics, right? What do you think is the most plausible intergalactic travel of FTL can't happen? Generation ships. Oh, intergalactic? I don't know if intergalactic travel will ever happen. Yeah, I am answering questions on YouTube. Absolutely. It's just people haven't been asking them. How important is the content of letters of rec for math physics PhD admissions? Apparently very important. I didn't know this, but apparently it's very important. What if the magnet's rotators slow down the magnetic force? Magnets, I don't understand the question. What are your thoughts on quantum computing using multiple universities with quantum entangling? You wouldn't really get a benefit. Like, the whole business of having quantum entanglement between different places is just like a demonstration. It's not practically super useful, except for encryption. If two black holes collide, would energy escape the gravity? Yes, in the form of gravitational waves. How do twist caps work on fizzy drinks? Figured carbonated drinks need stronger seals. Plastic can be plenty strong. What do you think happens when you break the speed of light? You can't. Can you describe what entropy is? Can't seem to really understand it no matter how hard I try. So at its most basic, entropy is just a measure of disorder. The more disorderly a system is, the higher its entropy. But more specifically, entropy is a way of the value of entropy is some way of counting how many different ways that a system can be microscopically without affecting the macroscopic behavior. How do you explain the connection between entanglements? Well, it's just a system that can't be decomposed into individual particles. If Einstein revolutionized our way of understanding of gravity, is there a way to look at it different? I don't know what that question means. Can any two particles be forcibly entangled? In principle, sure. It's just not very practical. What's the best pickled food that's not cucumbers? Great question. I have no idea. Do I even like pickled foods besides cucumbers? I like pickled cucumbers. Has Newton taken density for consideration when he was writing his laws down? Yes, he was aware of density. I do not know Farouk. I actually went to high school with Susskind's grandson. Are you a professor somewhere? I work at a university. I'm faculty at a university. I'm not a professor. That's not my title. I'm a researcher. I have a postdoc position. But no, I'm not going to give you my LinkedIn. Heard that cold actually don't exist. It's just an absence of heat and energy. Well, yeah, it's just a concept. Like, heat doesn't actually exist. That's just a way of describing something with a certain property, right? These are just concepts. Is it possible for you to ever find a girlfriend? Sure, I guess. Intuitive explanations for deuteron not having any excited state in terms of isospin? I don't know. I got none. What's your favorite movie? I don't know if I have one, but Pacific Rim, Blades of Glory, Blue People Avatar, those are very good ones. I like those a lot. What does classic probability break down after the Planck scale? We don't know if it does. With the gravitational waves escaping two black holes colliding be violent? Yeah, absolutely. They could be very, very dangerous if you're too close. Yeah. Any new science fiction books that you're excited about? Nope. Is there a way to look at space-time curvature differently other than curvature? Yes, you can look at it as torsion, actually, which is something called teleparallel gravity. But it's exactly equivalent to what Einstein does. Do you believe in a creator behind the flawless function of the universe? No, I don't. Any thoughts on holographic descriptions of gravity? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. The results are fascinating. They seem too good to be true, or they seem too good to be coincidences. So there's probably something deep there, but it's a very, very complicated subject. What's your opinion on humanities, so sociology, economy, or history, or sciences? Well, I don't know if sociology might be a science, but the other two aren't. But the humanities are fine. Trust the science guys? Well, yeah, trust me. I'm a science guy. What university? I'm not telling you that. Why is research easy, but doing a PhD difficult? Research isn't easy. Research is hard. Do you think science talk back like this is one of the ways to diminish science woo in society? I hope so. What do you think about the fine-tuning argument? I'm not convinced by it. Is it true that the sun is slowly moving closer to us? Well, or we're moving closer to the sun. Is that true? I don't know off the top of my head. In some sense, it would be true, but there might be other effects driving us further away, so I'm not sure what the balance is. Have you noticed that public billionaires brag about potentially getting a PhD in physics? Yes, I have noticed that, and I hate it. Is the Earth flat? No. Favorite power metal band? Right now, Beast in Black, maybe? But it's changing. Glory Hammer is always good. What field of physics do you specialize in? I do relativity, and I do differential geometry. So, what man of science do you think is highly underrated? Albert Einstein. Funnily enough, actually underrated. I'm not bringing on guests today, no. What do you believe will be the death of the universe? I suspect it will recollapse, yes. But new data might come out soon that will change our minds. Can you explain what the Navier-Stokes equation is? Yeah, the Navier-Stokes equation is just a way of describing fluid flow. So this is any sort of flow that has, could have friction, could have viscosity, things like this. So it's very, very complicated. Fluid flow is very, 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 very complicated. Where did you get your diploma? I'm not telling you. That would dox me. Where do you live? I live in the Czech Republic. Yes, Einstein is underrated. Seriously underrated. Can you explain why the zero-point energy can't be used to generate energy from nothing? So in order to get energy from a system, you have to be able to decrease its energy, right? That's the whole business. Like if you have gasoline is in an excited state. The chemicals have more energy in them. And so by burning it, you're reducing the energy in the chemicals. You're lowering the energy and then you're taking the remainder. Zero-point energy is by definition the minimum energy. So you can't reduce it. You can't go lower, so you can't get the energy out. Favorite female scientist? Does Emmy Noether count? She's sort of a mathematician. Otherwise, probably Madame Wu. She was amazing. How is physics used for quant analysis? I don't know anything about quantitative analysis, no. Favorite experimental physicist? It might be Madame Wu. Like, she's brilliant. Maybe Faraday. Faraday and Rutherford were also brilliant, but do you have a favorite science YouTube channel? I'm quite fond of PBS Spacetime. Is it true that there are strong mathematics that studies the singularity or describes it and why? Yeah, people study singularities in mathematics a lot, but it's just really complicated and hasn't really been used in physics as far as I'm aware. Can you explain how time travel may be possible one day, if at all? I don't think it will be possible. Are you a physicist? Yes. By the way, if you guys aren't following me on YouTube yet, go follow me on YouTube. That's where I'm going to be doing these. If and when TikTok gets banned, I will be able to answer the questions in the chat. I'm currently actually live streaming on YouTube right now, so go watch there too. So collapse, not heat death, is your leaning. Yeah, I lean that way, just because of the data that came out from the DESI report about 9 months ago. What does the remaining energy where does the remaining energy end up in a nuclear reaction? As like heat. Who is one person alive that you would like to interview? Interview or just have a conversation with? So I don't do interviews. That's not that's not a thing I do. But I'd like to just have a conversation with like Roger Penrose. But hey Robert. Yeah, a conversation with Roger Penrose would be brilliant. Just like an actual conversation rather than just me asking for a selfie, which I did. Why does half spin exist? Essentially because... What? It's like SU2 is a double cover of SO31 or something like that. There's some statement about double covers, and that's why. Lie algebras are hard. How did you cope with the university bureaucratic side of your PhD? I didn't really have a bureaucratic side. I didn't really have to deal with a whole lot. You took GR this semester, and it's the first time I've ever struggled with it with a physics course. Any advice? Oh yeah, GR's hard. Pick up another book, I guess. Maybe yeah, other books might help. You might get more intuitive explanations. But yeah, it's generally a hard subject. Where can you find me after the TikTok ban? I'm on YouTube. Currently, that's where I am right now. I made a Red Note account. I don't know if I'm going to stay there, but where does the remaining oh, is it possible to self-learn differential geometry if you have up to linear algebra? Yes, but you'll need calculus too, so presumably, yeah. Do I have any updog? I do. Introduce Madame Wu to someone not familiar. Yeah, so Madame Wu, I forgot her first name. She was Chinese. But she was an experimental physicist who essentially showed that the universe is not CP symmetric. CP symmetry is charge parity symmetry. And this was back in the 50s, I want to say. I do have a video on it, by the way, if you're interested. But this was back in the 50s. She devised an experiment and conducted an experiment that just showed that, and she won a Nobel Prize for this, of course. I think she did. That showed that essentially that if you reverse the charge of a particle and you make it go from left-handed to right-handed, the laws of physics don't treat that the same. Now there's a theorem in quantum field theory called CPT symmetry, or the CPT theorem, which states that if you reverse time and you reverse the charge and you reverse the handedness, then the laws of physics are identical. That's true. That's like measurably true. But what this means is that if CP symmetry is violated, in weak interactions in particular, that means that the T symmetry, the time reversal symmetry, must also be violated in the same interactions. And what that means is that our universe, in some sense, has a preferred time direction. In some sense. Wish Newton didn't invent gravity. It'd be so cool to fly. True. So true. Thank you for the $2, Robert. I appreciate that. By the way, if you want to send gifts and you're watching me on YouTube, I get all of it, rather than TikTok getting 60% of it. So that's a thing that you can do. Are you a mathematical physicist? Yes. Have you tried out AI for research? A smidge. It's kind of meh. What will cause the collapse? Gravity. Yes, gravity. What do you think are good resources for the average guy to understand physics concepts? PBS Spacetime is really good. My TikTok channel is really good, in my opinion. But the thing is, and this is just a suggestion, if you're going to listen to pop or science communicators, make sure that the science communicator you're listening to, especially about like these complicated esoteric things like quantum mechanics and so on, make sure that they actually know what they're talking about, like they have a PhD in the field. That's just a suggestion. Has string theory been disproven? Not as far as I'm aware. Have you read The Three-Body Problem? No. Are your comments getting muted? No. Singularity is where models fail. How come there's math that describes it? Because singularities aren't where models fail. Well, they're where physics models probably don't make good predictions. But the mathematics is totally well defined. If you were to spin your body around the center at the speed of light, would you see the back of your head in front of you? I don't think you can do that. How big of a black hole would have to merge with Sagittarius A star for the gamma rays to hurt us? Black holes don't emit gamma rays when they collide with each other. At least not unless they have accretion disks. Can I bring people up? I'm not bringing people up today. Next week I might start on YouTube. I might start bringing people up. Are you going over to Red Note? Tim, thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate you. I made a Red Note account. I might not go there. I prefer YouTube, to be honest, just because YouTube feels more familiar and, I don't know, safer. Is quantum physics based on probabilities because we can't interact with it in an efficient way? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I think the answer to your question is no. Do fermions having or requiring antisymmetric wave functions give it half-integer spin or no? That is the that's the spin statistics theorem. But but the reason why you have to have half-integer spin, that comes from this double cover business. Dr. Senior Citizen, thank you for the $1.39 Canadian. Must appreciate you. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's not Degrassi. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a PhD. Yeah, he's good. He's a good a good science communicator. Is quantum physics based on probability? Oh, I already answered that. RedNote's gonna get banned too, Kelly. Like, it's gonna get banned. It's a Chinese-owned app, right? Like, it's not gonna stick around. It's just a meme. Won't the collapse of the universe violate entropy? It depends on how it collapses. So, in fact, Stephen Hawking wrote a paper 40 years ago describing how you can have a recollapse without violating energy or without violating the second law of thermodynamics. Do you believe in reincarnation? No. Thoughts on gravastars? I have a video on it. They're cool. Probably not real, though. You're 15 and looking to learn physics. Where should you start? You should start with something like A Brief History of Time. What in the world is Dirac's delta? It's called a distribution. It's a thing that you can integrate against. Meta is problematic? Yeah, I'm not using meta. How hard is PKM? Never done it. Explain the Lindblad equation. I don't know what that is. At what temperature does mercury solidify? Something very cold. Not a fan of Big Bang. The background radiation isn't as convincing. What should I read to change? Just read up on cosmology. In fact, actually, you could go read up on A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Is there a straightforward way to understand gauge symmetries? They're just reparameterizations. It's basically you have a gauge symmetry is just a mathematical description that's redundant. That's all. Coming from a video, note my nonlinear nature of GR. Can there be grav wave sonic booms? Can you travel through something faster than the speed that gravitational waves propagate? I suppose in principle. Olive Null, thank you for the $50. I appreciate you. That's huge. W in the chat for Olive Null. I don't know if that's the thing that they do on TikTok, but that's a big deal. Thank you. Thoughts on a black hole with large volumes of water orbiting in space? Yeah, it has that. Oh, I was answering the sonic boom thing. Well, no, actually, I don't think gravitational waves ever decrease in speed through a medium. So you could never go faster than them because they always go at the speed of light. In A Brief History of Time, Hawking mentions the Big Crunch. Doesn't this contradict his later discovery of Hawking radiation? No, the Big Crunch and Hawking radiation are totally consistent with each other. The Big Crunch was just kind of fell out of fashion when dark energy was discovered. Thoughts on black hole with large volume. Oh, thoughts on B theory of time and time dilation? B theory of time is consistent with time dilation. Yeah, don't colonize Red Up. What are you researching right now? I have 7 projects going on right now. I have a project on something called T curvatures. I have a project on some submanifold stuff. I have a product on Pfefferman-Graham flat spacetimes. I have a project on black holes. I have a project on something that I'm keeping secret because the name gives it away. I have a project on Poincare-Einstein manifolds and variations of renormalized curvatures. I have a project on null Einstein spaces. Like, I have so many projects. It's way too many. Way too many. If time is relative, would a place in space with no gravity be moving at an exorbitant rate? So there is a maximum speed that you can move through time. And yes, an empty place where there's no gravity around would be moving at that maximum speed. But it's not that much faster than it's moving where we are. Are you a classical physicist or a quantum physicist? Everybody is. That's not like a real distinction. But I do relativity mostly. So most of the stuff I do is classical. However, I just had a paper published on quantum gravity, so please explain how it won't violate the second law. Well, I should actually pull up that paper, maybe do a review of it, but essentially the time will reverse. So, in that model anyway. What excites you about quantum AI's possible implications for physics? I don't think that quantum AI is a thing. Is infinity a number? No. Explain the recent studies on silicon A biogenesis. That's not my area. Why would I do that? I read all of Philip Cady and Orson Scott Card. Can you recommend a good book? Nope. How do you use non-local topology? All topology is non-local. Currently, I'm using it in a paper where we're trying to understand surfaces on null hypersurf or on nulls or in null manifolds. So that's interesting. Can you explain the start of nuclear reactions? I'm trying to figure out how electricity works. I don't understand the question. Is string theory still a thing? Yeah, string theory is still a thing. Yeah. Are you still in Europe? Yep, I am still in Europe. I probably will stay on TikTok, but I'm going to shift primarily over to YouTube, if only because that's where most of my audience will be. Did you do a lot of physics in high school? I actually did none. What's your favorite instrumentation for experimentation? I'm not an experimentalist. I don't have one. Any practical project you might want to loop this into? Nothing theoretical. I'm a theorist, so no. How many hours per day do you work? It depends on the day. I try to do, 8 hours a day. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Any project you're working on that's open source? No. I mean, like, all of my projects end up getting published, and they're freely available online. But no, I'm not going to give them away while I'm working on it. Is proton decay purely theoretical or has been observed? It's purely theoretical, and we don't even know if it's real. If you fell into a magnetar, what would kill you first, the gravity or the magnetism? The magnetism. It would kill you way faster. Yeah, because the gravity wouldn't kill you until you hit the surface, probably. Any, favorite polygon? I'm a fan of a circle, if that counts. Might be a dumb question, but is there time dilation depending on the medium you're moving in? Not as far as I know. I don't think so. Best theory on why there's more matter than antimatter. We don't really know. That's an open question. In some sense, we do know that there should be more matter than antimatter, but not nearly as much as there is. So it's a little bit strange. Do you watch anime? No. Well, occasionally, but it's not like my main form of media. Is the speed of light still the fastest? Yes. When did you realize you wanted to do physics and math? I was like 8. What do you think of LLMs in physics? As far as I know, they're not so useful, but at least not for theory. But for data analysis, I imagine they can be. Well, maybe even not data analysis. That wouldn't be an LLM. That would just be some sort of machine learning. Is time fundamentally discrete or continuous? We have no idea. If light doesn't have mass, how is it affected by the gravity of black holes? Gravity is just the curvature of space-time. And so the light will just follow the curvature of space-time, whether it has mass or not. What'd you write your capstone project on? I don't know what that is. If you mean thesis, like my dissertation for my PhD, it was on conformal hypersurface geometry. What would you see if you move faster than light? You wouldn't, because you can't. Observer effect on double slit throws Newtonian Einsteinian physics in the bin. No, it's just quantum mechanics, right? Like, that's just how quantum mechanics works. But it also, the observer effect's not like a real thing. It's called the measurement problem, not the observer effect. What was something that fascinated you about physics? Black holes. It was black holes. Does gravity exist? Of course it does. Can you explain how we've seen changes in the rate of expansion within the universe? Yeah, so I have this video. It's from April of last year. But essentially, new measurements of things called baryon acoustic oscillations show that the universe's acceleration is less now than it was in the past. So the universe's expansion was accelerating, but now it's accelerating less now, which means dark energy seems to be getting weaker. But we'll have more data in a few months. Have you done any science in high school? I mean, I took biology and chemistry, I think. Speed of ultraviolet light is faster? No, it's not. What's the fastest speed possible for a machine spaceship? Slower than the speed of light. Do you find dark matter a tedious placeholder explanation for the motion of galaxies? Not really. It's just a name. I don't mind it. Thoughts on simulation theory? I don't buy it. Are there theories that can compete with the Big Bang? Sure, but none that are very good. By the way, if we can get to, let's say if we can get to 1,000, no, 1,000's pushing it, huh? If we can get to 100,000 likes on TikTok, or let's say 100 likes on YouTube, I'll put my hair down. What made you get into physics? It was black holes. Black holes are just cool. They're just so cool. You're on a ski lift. What's your Discord? It's in the link tree in my bio. So, and if you're watching on YouTube, it's in the link tree, or it's actually just in the description of my YouTube channel. What fascinated you about math? I don't know. It just made sense. Subjectively, what do you think existed before the Big Bang? My guess is just more universe. That'd be my guess. Can you talk about quantum loop gravity? It sounds really cool and a lot of people are looking into it. It's loop quantum gravity. I'd love to, and I did make a video on it a while ago, but it's just not something I'm super knowledgeable about because it's a whole, I took a class on string theory when I was in grad school, right? That was a required course for theorists. I don't know if it was required, but it was recommended. There was no class on loop quantum gravity, so I just don't have a good background in it, and I haven't read a whole lot of papers. I read a review on it once, and it was compelling, but I just am not knowledgeable enough to speak on it in great depth. Thank you for the glasses, Lynn Bermudez. I appreciate you. What's your favorite science content topic to debunk? Probably flat Earth. It's just really funny. They're really funny. Is inflation theory a good model? It's pretty good. It has some issues, but it's pretty good. Does chemical bonding of nuclides impact their rate of decay? Not as far as I know. Does spacetime emerging from entanglement suggest locality and causality are emergent, not fundamental? Causality, maybe not, but locality, very possibly. How can anything precede t equals 0? I don't understand the question. What happened before the Big Bang? Well, if t equals 0 wasn't the beginning, then there'd be something before that. T equals 0, I don't think that there was actually a singularity. I don't think singularities are physical, especially not time-like ones. Do you feel that physics feels mysterious to the layman because it's inherently unintuitive? I think that at least, the thing is most people don't think of physics when they talk about, they don't think of classical physics when they talk about physics. But classical physics is the most intuitive thing. Like, we literally intuit it. Catching a baseball is classical physics. Any formal accreditation? Yeah, I have a PhD in physics. Read the description. What shape is the universe? I'm a flat universe believer. It's flat, probably. How are you? I'm doing okay. Bad brains, thanks. You like Prison Break? I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is. What's your opinion on double beta decays being neutrinoless, if that's how you spell it? What's my opinion on it? I don't have an opinion on it. Was there a topic in physics you hated the most learning? StatMech. I hated StatMech so much. Could black holes just be huge stars? No, they'd be visible then. Do you miss living in the US? Less and less, considering what's happening there. Can you explain string theory in the simplest terms? To like a 4-year-old, everything is made out of little vibrating strings. But that misses a lot of the detail. When fans meet you in person, do you still go by Blitz? Yes. But it's only happened 4 times, so. Do you think it's possible black holes open up their own potentially infinite universes? I suspect not. When did you know you wanted to be a wizard? Oh, since I was a young child. What is differential? It's differential geometry. Differential geometry is just the geometry of curvy things. What do you think is the next breakthrough in gravity research? If I knew that, I'd be out doing it. Pretty sure there's no before. There absolutely can be. There's only no before if you accept the model that the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe. But I don't accept that model, and there's no reason. Most scientists, most physicists don't, or most cosmologists don't. Can time for the beginning of Big Bang be relative? Not really. We usually define when the Big Bang happened according to cosmological time. I remember a few months ago the singularity of a black hole was debunked. So what happened is that Roy Kerr wrote a paper. Roy Kerr's brilliant and famous, by the way, but he wrote a paper that was kind of not right. And so while he was like, yes, I've debunked the singularity, it's like, it wasn't true. Why not move to Canada? I would need a job in Canada, right? And my wife's an American lawyer, so she wouldn't be able to practice in Canada, right? Do people really believe flat Earth exists? Yeah. Could the resolution of the information paradox through holography via black holes imply the entire universe is a hologram, and what would that mean for reality and time? The trouble is that holography doesn't actually describe our universe, at least as far as we know, because the holographic principle, as far as we know, only works for time-like boundaries. And our universe, our universe does not have a conformal boundary that's time-like. So we just don't know, but more research needs to be done here. Got a fave problem in physics coming close to a solution which will be game-changing? Nope. Can the timing of beginning of Big Bang be... Oh, if Alcubierre drive is made real, could we use it to send communication first? Yeah, with like courier pigeon, but the Alcubierre drive probably isn't real. What'd you do for your doctorate? I did research on conformal hypersurface geometry. Do you think the expansion of the universe is faster than the speed of light? The expansion of the universe... I am doing subs on YouTube, actually. The expansion of the universe isn't a speed, right? It's a rate. Like, it's a doubling time. A doubling time doesn't have a speed. It's not like miles per hour or whatever. It's just this many years until it doubles in size. Flat universe isn't existing on a plane, but still kind of a... No, flat universe is in 3-dimensional, but has 0 curvature. Do you believe string theory? Not really. Gravity slows time, speed slows time. Where is time fastest? Time is fastest in cosmic voids. Could quantum entanglement be due to micro wormholes connecting particles? That's an idea, but it's like a vibe. I don't know how formal the idea it is, and it's certainly not been verified. Can you explain the law of attraction? Yeah, it's just a placebo. Do you ski or snowboard? I used to snowboard when I was a wee lad, but I haven't been on the slope in like over a decade. Why can't you gift paid subs? I don't know if that's a thing on YouTube. I don't know. I'm new to the whole YouTube streaming thing. I might, by the way, if TikTok goes away, I will probably branch out to also multi-streaming on Twitch. So keep that in mind. When are you going to Antarctica with that guy that made a bet with you about flat Earth? Oh, he never offered to pay. So can you explain relativistic quantum field theory? Relativistic quantum field theory is what happens when you take quantum mechanics and you slap it into and combine it with special relativity. That's basically it. It's really, really complicated, and particles are no longer like super well defined. They're more like they're just excitations of fields, and those fields can be in superpositions. Yeah, yeah, subscriptions are free, but like there's like membership or whatever that you can join, which is like $3 or something. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Does the sun set in a muddy pool? I don't know what that means. Do you believe in a creator? No, I don't. Get that new, can you, all right. Start with so much gravity, light can't escape it, but then it just start with so much gravity, light can't escape it. If light can't escape it, then it's a black hole. Yeah. What induced the Big Bang? We don't know. Thought on landlords? Not a fan. Did you enjoy the boring parts of physics, like the physics 1 stuff? Yeah, I did. I should have memberships. I turned them on before this live stream started. Does BGV theorem prove the universe had a beginning? No. No, it didn't. No, it doesn't. I've read that string theory is built off the idea of multiple extra dimensions that are tiny. Yes, that is necessary for string theory to work. Otherwise, it has something called a conformal anomaly, which means that it just is not a sensible theory. It's not like a full theory. What level of math is required in order to become a physicist? A lot. Like a lot of math. Less math if you do experimental physics, but still a lot. Do you think telepathy is possible? I'm skeptical. Any theories on what induced the Big Bang? There's so many, and I'm not sold on any of them. Is gravity dependent on mass or density? It's dependent on mass, yeah. The only way density is related is because if something is more dense, it means you can get closer to the mass without actually being inside of it. What's the difference between time-like and space-like geodesics? Time-like geodesics are paths through space-time that things with mass can take. So you and I are traveling along time-like geodesics. Space-like geodesics are like, in particular, they're paths through space-time that things with mass cannot take. They are paths that, in order to travel there, in order to take that path, you'd have to be moving faster than light. But more specifically, those paths are the paths that measure distances rather than times. How far is the theory of quantum gravity, and is it close to being proven? It's impossible to say. It's impossible to say until it actually happens. Are you gonna be back on the line? Yeah, it's in the works. Could there exist a universe running a universe? In principle, yeah, that's a thing. What good jobs for physics majors? A physics grad student. Explain the fluid dynamics of honey. It's very viscous. What's your favorite math class? I liked, well, general relativity, if that counts, but that's differential geometry. Can you explain the Higgs field and or the Higgs boson? Yeah, the analogy that's often used is like space-time molasses. That's what I use anyway. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's good enough. Namely, that you have this thing, the Higgs field, that fills space-time, and some particles kind of get dragged through it. They it's not actually friction, but it feels like friction. And so because they get slowed down, they're no longer traveling at the speed of light, so they basically get mass. It's not that good. It's not that good of an analogy, but it's somewhat close. Any thoughts on scalar waves and the potential implications for energy? Scalar waves are like conspiracy theory nonsense, so don't worry about it. What's your favorite branch of science other than physics? It's physics. What is that? I don't even know what that question means. What is the speed of gravity? It's the speed of light. Could quantum entanglement... Oh, I already answered that. Do you think dark matter could just be matter that is moving in a different direction in time? I'm very skeptical of that. Do you think string theory can be considered science? Sure, it's part of a theoretical science. Explain a black hole in brain rot terms. When you have a big gat... And I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Did you like abstract algebra? Not really, no. What's your workout routine? Well, before like winter started, I was doing calisthenics every morning, but I've fallen off the bandwagon, so I should get back on it. Prove the Earth is spherical 3 different ways. Sunsets, star trails, stick lengths. Does the many worlds theory disprove the grandfather paradox? No, they're not really related. What's your favorite random weird physics fact? That black holes can have repulsive gravity if they're spinning fast enough and you're spinning in the same direction. Why does the cosmological constant have the value it does? I think it's because it's a slight perturbation away from 0, which is what it should have. quantum tunneling, do particles cross the barrier instantaneously, violating the speed of light limit? No. Actually, no. I should jump down to the bottom because I'm way behind. How do holes in semiconductors work? They're just places where electrons want to be. So the electrons will jump in there and then the hole will have moved. How skibbity is Einstein? Einstein is Ohio Riz skibbity. If you had the opportunity to go into space, would you? As long as my wife thought it was okay. I wouldn't want to scare her. What's your view on the possibility of us being in a simulation? I think it's unlikely. Favorite dinosaur? Oh, I know. It's what's it called? Gallimimus. That one. He's a fast boy. Fast as fuck, boys. We're fast as fuck. When will cold fusion be commercially available? Never, because cold fusion's not a real thing. Why is my phone fucking flipping out? What's going on? What is happening here? Come on. Okay, not a big deal. How do you stay interested in when you were studying? I just like the subject. How did the scientists make the world's most accurate clock with lasers? Well, we don't do it with lasers. We do it with cesium atoms, which is via electromagnetic radiation from those cesium atoms. Why do long-range forces exist? Because they interact via particles with no mass. If you had an opportunity to go into space, oh, I already answered that. Is 3 rice jar experiment real? No. Do I need talent to become a theoretical physicist? I don't know. Maybe. How much faster is time in a cosmic void than we experience time? I suspect not very much faster, but there are some people who think it's significantly faster, like 38% faster. Does time move faster on the Earth's surface or core? Well, considering space-time is... Oh, it's a good question, actually. My guess is it probably moves faster at the core, but I'd actually have to do the math. That's just a guess. Why does it sound like you read stuff I don't see in actual chat? I'm just behind, that's all. Hey, you're from Ohio? Yeah, I know, and Ohio's a meme. I heard a while ago that there are theories about the world if it was shrinking rather than expanding. What do you think of those? Well, the universe... Oh, no, the world isn't shrinking. Definitely not. And we can demonstrate that empirically. Is it possible to be a good physicist and believe in a creator? I suppose, yeah. What if you took a machine like the G machine that astronauts train on and extend it? I don't know what that question is. How did the scientists make the... Okay, how do we get a rough basis on how big the observable universe is? Well, we can measure distances in the universe. So we just look at the furthest thing and we're like, how far away is that? That's how big it is. Can you explain how quantum computers leverage the Doppler light effect to isolate atoms? No, I cannot, because I don't know the answer to the question. Do you like when you meet fans? I am wildly awkward in person. I'm also way taller than most people expect me to be and like lankier and ganglier. So I think that's kind of off-putting for some people. You know, I'm 7'6" if you didn't know. Can you explain the quantum eternity theorem? Yeah, it's the quantum eternity theorem is the idea that if the universe obeys the Schrodinger equation, which it probably does, and if the energy of our universe is not zero, which I suspect it isn't, then the evolution of the universal wave function can continue indefinitely into the past. And this is just a basic fact about differential equations, the Schrodinger equation being one of those. What do you think of OrchoR? I'm not sold on it, but I'd be happy to be wrong about it. When TikTok gets banned and you lose your audience, what happens then? Well, I either stop making content or I keep making content just elsewhere. But I will be on YouTube, so... Can you explain how quantum computers leverage the... Okay, do you think the universe is flat and infinite or rather wraps in itself? I think it's flat and infinite. What module was hardest for you? Hardest? Probably topology. That's a hard course. Do you guys know you're mostly wrong? I don't know if we're mostly wrong. Do you need significant research to be a PhD student? No, you do research as a PhD student. What do we know about singularities / infinities? There's a lot of mathematics on it. Like you can study like singularity orders and you can study indexes and all that sort of stuff. Stuff that I don't worry about. But as far as I know, we don't know anything physically about them. Do you like when... Oh. Is there anything resembling solid science behind the simulation theory? No, there's no experimental data one way or the other. Thoughts on dark matter? Is it just dust? No, it's definitely not dust. Do super chats help your YouTube algorithm? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not going to object. Why does heat always flow from hotter to colder objects? That's entropy for you, baby. Can you explain how quantum computers... Oh, you already asked that. If an unresponsive yo-yo spins for 2 minutes, how long would it spin in space? I don't know what an unresponsive yo-yo is. Did you see dark matter energy might not exist? No, it's... Oh, that's just constant changing over time? Yeah, as far as I know, there's not really any... Like that is a very, very fringe idea. Would you recommend doing a master's after your BSBA or jumping straight into your PhD? In the US, it's standard to go straight to your PhD. That's the normal thing. At least in physics. Are photons in superposition until they interact with matter? Generally, yeah, unless you create a photon that's not in a superposition. Is it possible to work in an observatory with an undergrad physics degree? Or astrophysics degree? I have no idea. Can you explain Einstein thought experiment with the moving train and the I sleep Simon? I don't know what that means. Judas, thank you for the $2. I appreciate you. Can you explain entropy? Yeah, entropy. Roughly, it's a measure of disorder. The more entropy, the more disorderly your system. What do you think is the biggest indicator that the universe is eternally cyclic? I lean on things like Schrodinger evolution. That's pretty compelling to me. And then the potential recollapse of our universe in the future. Ever been to Estonia? I have been to Estonia. I was there in the fall of 2023. I went to Tallinn, and it was beautiful. Tallinn was amazing. It was actually probably my favorite. I went to Tallinn, I went to Riga, I went to Kaunas, and I went to Vilnius. And Tallinn was probably my favorite. Is there any estimate as to how large the unobservable universe is? You can estimate it that if it is not infinite in size, then one estimate is like 300 times larger than the observable universe. Yes, I'm definitely 7'6". Shouldn't be answering questions on parapsychology, or I might start answering quantum mechanics questions. Did I answer questions on that? What's the diagram behind your head? That is called a Feynman diagram. In this case, it's electron-electron scattering. 9 plus 10 is 19. Did quantum computing reach an alternate universe? No. Will you still do streams on other platforms? I'm currently streaming on YouTube. In fact, it's better to watch me on YouTube than on TikTok because, we need to get the algorithm primed, right? Should math PhD applicants have a precise research interest, or is something like algebra, mathematical physics typically good enough? Yeah, the latter's fine. How much do you charge for private lessons? I don't currently, but maybe I'll start doing that if I need some extra money. Who knows? The going rate is about $100 an hour, though, for people with my credentials, so just keep in mind it's not cheap. If we can't see further back than the moment of reionization, then how do we know that 380,000 years have passed between the Big Bang and that moment? We can't see past it, but we can definitely extrapolate past it. Is there, would you ever write a textbook, and if so, in what? I don't know. That's something that more senior professors do, not postdocs. Do you personally believe in the strong theory? I don't know what that means. Do you have your own random fun theory that you never actually entertain? No, generally, the ideas that I have, I actually entertain them, and then I try to write a paper on them. Have you looked into the recent papers of Gustav Holzegel on black hole stability? What are your thoughts? I may have seen it, but I didn't read it. So, yeah, I can't comment on it. But I think I saw it on the archive. Do you know a good podcast on physics? No, but me and another content creator may be starting one soon, so be on the lookout. The PhD I'm looking at strongly encourages having prior research. How do? Talk to a professor that you took a class with. Ask what they're doing. See if you can do something. Why don't we live in 4D? We do. 3 dimensions of time, of space, 1 dimension of time. What do you know about precognitive dreams? Not much. I'm just skeptical of them. If dark energy does exist, does dark entropy too? No, I don't. I mean, that you would need to give me a definition. Do you get PTSD when you see Bohr? No, just a bit of disdain. Do you have any recommendations for self-teaching resources or pathing for advanced physics? You hit a wall after quantum mechanics too. No, I don't. See, I didn't do it, so I can't really comment on like the best, most efficient way to do it. No guests, not today, because I'm multi-streaming and I'm still trying to get the kinks worked out. Can you steal mine? Time being created? Yeah, one model where time is created is called the Hartle-Hawking model. Essentially, time starts out complex, meaning it's sort of like space, and you just have like a space, kind of like a timeless universe that then evolves in some timeless way until it becomes time, which is very, very stream. How do you like the stream? There should be a little updo button. What do you think? Do you think the lack of ability to do fast mental math is an indicator of low intelligence? No, I don't think so. Are you smarter than Elon Musk? Probably. Probably. Thank you for the hat and mustache, Mr. Wolf. If measured from Planck, would Planck have its own version of Planck and would... I don't know what that question means. View on moon landing? It definitely happened. If you weren't a physicist, what would you be doing? Mathematics. In some sense, I already am. Does dark energy exist? I suspect so. Were you naturally intelligent in high school? I don't know what that means, but I guess I got good grades. Do you think consciousness is classical or fundamental? I think it's classical, probably. Do you believe in God? I do not. Is the magnetic field just the electric field from another perspective? Yeah, sort of. At least locally. How long should local numbing agent... I'm not that kind of doctor. How does the time dimension differ from the other three space dimensions? It has a different signature. And that's a technical term. What it means roughly is that if you measure... So there's a quantity that lets you measure spaces, or that lets you measure durations and distances in the same quantity. But when you measure a distance, you get a positive number. When you measure a duration, you get a negative number. And that's how you know you're measuring a duration rather than a distance. Do you think time is fundamental? I don't know. Who puts the water inside the coconuts? Good question. Is simulation theory plausible? I suspect not. Thoughts on controlled magnetic? I don't know what that is. Controlled magnetic harmonic resonance. Are virtual particles real or just mathematical constructs, as you mentioned in your short? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, if you ask physicists, they'll tell you that they're math. Like, they're just math. They're not real. You hold no skepticism to the moon landing? No, there's plenty of evidence. Darth Dawkins hates you so much. I know he does. It's so funny. It's because I wouldn't let him spew his precept bullshit. Like, that's what happened. Assuming God did exist and he spawned in front of you, what would be your reaction? I'd be like, well, damn. Guess I was wrong. If the universe extends infinitely in every direction, does that mean it attends mag rallies? Yes. Do you think the singularity of AI is possible? Maybe. So by different signature, do we just mean different sign? Yeah. So the sign... So when you describe the signature of it's called a manifold, of a differentiable manifold with a pseudo-Riemannian metric. It basically just tells you how many minus signs there are and how many plus signs there are when you make measurements. And so we would say that the signature of a universe with one dimension of time and three dimensions of space is minus plus plus plus. You might say that it has a signature of 2. Do you specialize in a certain type of physics? I do relativity and differential geometry. How do we know the atomic mass on the periodic table? We just measure it. You just measure it. What concepts of physics do you find most interesting? Black holes and, you know, the Big Bang, stuff like that. Has your enthusiasm towards physics changed over time, and if so, how? Not really. Would we be able to tell if there was a fourth dimension of space? Yeah, gravity would be different. How can there be more than one type of gravity? So there's just different theories of gravity, and the question is just which one's right. Will you be moving to Red Note after the TikTok ban? I'm already there, but Red Note's not going to be a permanent place. Like, I'm moving to YouTube permanently, assuming TikTok gets banned. Red Note's just a meme. Like, it's going to get banned. It's a Chinese company. Can time exist in 2 dimensions? Yeah, there can be 2 time dimensions. It's just the universe becomes not predictable anymore. If dark matter is collisionless but still interacts gravitationally, what would stop a small clump from instantly forming a black hole when it gravitates towards itself? The thing is it's all moving, and so it can't collapse to form a black hole. Should you go to school to become a physicist? Yeah, you should. TikTok isn't banned everywhere. I know, but most of my audience is American. I'll probably still post on TikTok. I just probably won't. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. What's your YouTube? Same name there as it is here. I am in Czechia, but my phone and my account are American. Why did my green screen get bad? Something weird happened with my green screen, but thoughts on panpsychism? I don't buy into it. You can find me on Red Note, but it's, again, not going to be a permanent solution. I don't know why people think that that's where also, your favorite content creators aren't going to go there. They don't monetize. Like, YouTube is a better place for content creators. That's where you're going to find us. Do you think there will ever be a theory of gravity, of quantum theory of gravity? Yeah, I think so. Do you find all the recent ZPE talk and free energy talk silly and boring or interesting? I think it's silly and boring, yeah. Have you read Terrence Howard's open letter? No, I haven't. Did he write an open letter? This is probably so funny. When did he write it? That's a bummer. What millennium problem would you ever consider trying? I wouldn't, because they're not interesting to me. I'll be on Twitch too. Thank you for the subscription, Becky. I appreciate you. I'm not familiar with CTMU. YouTube algo sucks though. Yeah, well, I don't know what else there is. I mean, like, Red Note's not going to stick around, right? You're a good spy guy. I appreciate you. Where are you in the political spectrum? Take the left, like the American left, and then go left. Why don't you create an app like this? I'm not an app guy. Do you find the ZPE talk boring and not interesting? But no, I'm not a huge Sabina fan. I don't really like her very much. Does quantum gravity create topological defects? Could be. We just don't know. We don't know enough. Nature is everything as we know it. No magic man in the sky. Okay, that's not a question. What about the Red Note app? That's what wait, I just talked about that. Okay. Penrose's theory of gravitizing quantum. It's a neat idea. I just don't know if it's right. What are your thoughts on that one person who supposedly solved the Riemann hypothesis? He didn't. Would a proof of Navier-Stokes have any implications in your line of work? No. The people do fluid mechanics and differential geometry, but just not in what I do. What's beyond learning about the standard model? There's so much physics beyond the standard model. So much. Like, any sort of gravity is there. Then there's all sorts of different, like conformal field theories and string theories and condensed matter. There's a lot of stuff. Do you believe that when spin of electrons is observed, the universe splits in two? Not really, but it does kind of decompose into two pieces. Why is he skipping my questions? I haven't seen your questions. I already answered your question, YK. Can I get maybe the last? Obama. Yes, you can get an Obama. You can get a Trump. We're gonna have plenty of it. It just won't be on TikTok. There'll still be plenty of hand waving with the most enormous hands. What are the absolute most fundamental sciences leading up to how computers work? It starts with physics. It always starts with physics. What college did you go to? I'm not telling. How old would you expect your average viewer to be? 23? I don't know. Sorry, but would you ever consider doing a longer video talking about virtual particles? So many YouTube channels keep saying they're real. Yeah, maybe. I'm thinking of transitioning into long-form content, at least sometimes. So that might be the subject of one of the videos that I make. Place a mirror facing Earth 1 light year away and look at it with the telescope. Can see the past? Yeah, but it would only be the past after you place the mirror there. What is your hated unit of measurement? I hate the units for angular momentum. It's terrible. Could gravity work like surface tension with a small interaction of matter versus neutrino? I don't know what that question means. Is there hope in most I don't know what that means. What's your biggest argument against simulation? It seems impossible to simulate a quantum universe with complete fidelity without the simulator being larger than the universe. How do you feel about the passport bros going to other countries today? It's a little cringe, but like, look, as long as nobody's being taken advantage of, I'm not gonna, you know, like, be mad at anybody. Like, I don't know. There's too many things to care about in this world for that to be the thing that bothers me the most. Do you think it will be possible to go far enough away from Earth and look back at Earth to see Dino? No, because you can never get there soon enough. What are the absolute... Oh, I already answered that. String theory, do you believe it? Why or not? I don't believe it. But that's just because I don't think it's the full story. Since space is expanding, could it actually just be made of something we just can't detect it? I don't know what that would mean. But I guess. You have a question? Well, ask your question, mostly folders. Are we alone? I suspect not. How to choose between experimental and theoretical physics? What did you choose? I chose theoretical physics because I just don't really like experimental physics. I like witnessing or experimental physics from afar. Is time real? Yeah, probably. Is there a theory of everything? Not that we have yet. How inertia works on a quantum level. Is this live session recorded so we can rewatch it? Absolutely, it'll be posted on YouTube, yeah. It's gonna be posted right after this live stream is over. Oh. How inertia works on a quantum level. Yeah, that's complicated. It kind of just falls out of the mathematics. There's not like some law of inertia, but it's not easy to derive. Why do people still believe the Earth is flat? Because they're conspiracy theorists. What do you think it will surface from these UFO sightings? I don't know if anything will, actually. What's your favorite conditioner? I just buy what my wife recommends. Why does your back hurt so much, smart boy? Great question. Outside of physics, is there another field you would enjoy? Math. In fact, in some sense, I'm more of a mathematician than a physicist. But the mathematics I do is physics, so. Trips planned for 2025? Yeah, a few. But I'm not going to tell you. Maybe working on theory is more fun, but experimentalists are cool. Yeah, exactly. Everything quantum is so overused and silly. Even using that word to describe anything doesn't make sense. I almost hate it. I mean, quantum mechanics is like a real thing. Quantum field theory is a real thing. I don't know what the complaint is. What are your thoughts on quantum computer? It's neat, but it's not going to like you're not going to have a quantum computer in your house. Like it's not useful in that regard. Will the big rip happen? I suspect not. The universe's acceleration is decreasing, not increasing. Do you think the current state of public anti-intellectualism can be solved from a pedagogical perspective? I don't know, man. We just do our best. Did you see the new JWST images? I did not. Career paths for a physicist. Go be a professor in physics. If there was a giant black hole, could it form a black ring? If it did and the ring collapsed into the black hole, could it eject matter? Could that be what the Big Bang was? So, yes, they're called Kerr black holes, and Kerr black holes have singularities that are ring-shaped. But the actual event horizon cannot be ring-shaped, no. Are there only 3 dimensions of space? As far as we can tell, yeah. What's your favorite physics textbook? Space, Time, and Geometry by Sean Carroll. It's just a good book. It's simple. It's a good book. How would the universe look like if the second law of thermodynamics didn't apply to it? The second law of thermodynamics kind of can't not apply. That's the weird thing. Because the second law of thermodynamics isn't like a dynamical law like the law of gravity. It's kind of just like a mathematical law. Like it's just like a thing that happens. It's like tautologically true, right? Which is very weird. Do you believe gravity? Wait, hold on. There was a question about gravity. Limited state. If you're mad, then you can be mad, I guess. If you don't like the word quantum, that's a you problem, I guess. I guess stay mad, cope and seethe. Like that's the word that's used in physics. Get over it. Do you field nuke tech questions? I guess, but I'm not like an expert on that. Is teleportation always going to be impossible? Yeah, probably. Star Trek style replicators though could very well be possible, I think. What are your thoughts on quantum computing? Oh, I already answered that. Smartest X-Man. Gotta be Xavier, right? What's the best use for a physics degree? Teaching physics. Sadly enough. First law is a Euclid's fifth postulate kind of deal, isn't it? Not really, no. So what would hypothetically make a particle of dark matter not interact with photons? It's just the nature of like, if it doesn't have charge, it doesn't interact with photons, just definitionally. Favorite physics TikTokers nowadays? I really like Abby, pop culture scientist. Quanta and quantum as words already had a definition before physicists got a hold of it. Yeah, words change meaning. Deal with it. Do you believe gravity is possibly an emergent force and not fundamental? It's possible, but I'm not so convinced of it. Why does it matter to things outside of the event horizon of a black hole if it's rotating or not? Well, the space-time outside changes. Right? If you have a rotating black hole, the space-time kind of drags things along. Are there actual scientists who believe in flat Earth? I don't think so. Do you believe gravity is possibly an emergent force and not a fundamental? Oh, I already answered that. Intro to Quantum by Griffiths is goated. Yeah, that's true too. Are you good at math? I would say so. Better than the average person. How do you prove a trichotomy true? Well, you rule out two of the options. I don't know what you mean. Was there a thought to ever become an engineer instead of physicist? No, never. No, I never took the Putnam. Do physical constants vary slightly over time? Not as far as we can tell. Is the big crunch still possible? It's back on the table, boys. The big crunch. It's back on the table. We're going to have the biggest crunch, the best crunch. How do black holes follow thermodynamics? It's weird. Black hole thermodynamics is weird. But yes, entropy is critical. Do you think we exist in a false vacuum? Data actually does seem to support that. However, it's not 100%. What is conservation of indices when learning the tensor transformation law? Ah, yes, it means that the indices, it's just a silly rule of thumb. Essentially, when you transform, you just have to make sure that the indices stay in the same place. If they're up indices, when you transform them, they should stay up. Why do we bleed blood when we're 75% water? You know that blood is the part of you that's the water, right? Thoughts on the second law of infodynamics? Never heard of it. Does the amount of gravity affect how time is experienced? Yeah, absolutely. Who is considered the greatest physicist, Einstein or Newton? I mean, it's hard to measure who's great, right? But honestly, I think Einstein's the GOAT, with Newton a close second. Big Rip ETA? Probably not going to happen. Do you think there's four-dimensional aliens on a fourth-dimensional plane? I doubt it. Do you believe in the many worlds theory, and if so, why? Yes, I do, but I prefer to call it the Everett interpretation because many worlds implies something that it's not. A quick overview explanation of fusion. Yeah, I mean, it's fairly straightforward, right? If you get stuff hot enough or apply enough pressure, the nuclei of atoms will be shoved next to each other often enough and hard enough that they can overcome the Coulomb barrier. What typically keeps nuclei from fusing is that nuclei are positive, and so they repel each other. But if you can overcome that barrier and get them close enough, then they'll fuse because the strong nuclear force is stronger, and that releases energy. So all you have to do is create a system that releases energy for certain elements. All you have to do is create a system that takes the energy that's released and uses it to push more nuclei together in a self-sustaining way so that you can extract energy out of it. How do you feel about engineers? They're fine. They do a good. They're valuable to society. Do you think time travel is possible? Only to the future. Yes. Do you prefer Apple computers and iPhones? No. Any exciting physics news lately? Soon. A few months. Yes. I never took the Putnam. No. Is Brian Greene worth listening to? Yes, he is. He's a little bit fringe because he's very, very sold on string theory, but he's a serious scientist. If you were stuck in a black hole, could you possibly escape in any way? Not without negative energy. Let me rephrase. Not without a warp drive. Why do we need to get fusion fuel on Earth hotter than the sun's core? The sun's core can get around the problem of heat because it's so big that the pressure's really high. And in fact, it's also so big that the fusion doesn't have to be very fast. It can still generate a lot of energy. But because we don't have enormous pressures, we have to instead get them very, very hot. Also, we want our fusion to actually generate a significant chunk of energy. You'd find that actually, even in the core of the sun, the energy density, the energy produced is less dense than the energy produced from like humans. So, yeah. Is information always conserved? Are there any reasons to believe it isn't? It should be if the universe is unitary. Do you enjoy theoretical or applied physics more? Theoretical. I'm a theorist. Thoughts on thermodynamic computing? I don't know anything about it. Did the Big Bang create time? I suspect not. I'm taking my third physics course for my engineering degree is electromagnetism. What to expect? That's going to be your hardest undergrad course, is my guess. It's probably going to be your hardest undergrad course. How accurate is the show Lost in Space's show mechanics reality? I've never seen it. Do you think exotic matter, negative mass, or the like is possible? I think it's probably just sci-fi. Are there phenomena that break physics or we can't explain? There are things that we can't explain, sure. Like, we don't know what dark energy is. Time travel, supermassive artificial cylinder with spaceship spiraling around it to go backwards. The thing is it has to be infinitely large, not just large. Can you define information? Information roughly is the set of data required to reproduce a state once that state is destroyed. Like, there's not really like well, you could also quantify information like entropically. Didn't the JWST disprove the Big Bang? No, not at all. If you were to do research, what would you study? Math. I would do mathematics. What time were you deleted? I don't know what that means. What do you think of Nikola Tesla? Overhyped. What names do you prefer for quarks? I like top bottom rather than truth and beauty. How do you argue with gas pressure can't exist without a container? Well, I explained to them that a container is just something that provides a force keeping a thing in. And then I tell them that gravity is a force that keeps things in. So there is a container. What's the difference between dark matter and dark energy? Dark matter is stuff that has gravity. As far as we can tell anyway. That's the best guess that we have. It's just invisible. Dark energy is something causing the universe to expand at faster and faster rates. Why does gravity affect time if it does? Yeah, so gravity is the curvature of space-time. It's just what gravity is. So it kind of has to, because time is part of space-time. Engineers versus physicists, which is better? Obviously I'm biased. It's obviously physicists. How do black holes form jets of energy if nothing escapes? Well, there's stuff around the black holes, and that stuff can't always fall in because of energy or angular momentum conservation reasons. So it spirals up to the top and then it's shot out without it never actually falls in though. Any pet physics peeves from the TV series The Expanse? I never saw it, at least not entirely. Can you finally admit that the Earth is velociraptor shaped? True! Why do you engage in brain rot? Because the memes is fun, right? What do you know about the diamond batteries and nuclear particles in them? I don't know a lot about it, but I know that they just have carbon-14, which radioactively decays. And then they have some technique for turning that radioactive decay into electricity. What is space expanding into? It's not expanding into anything. It's just getting bigger. How does space itself have properties? Like I see space as the absence of matter. So that's what people thought 150 years ago. Now we know that it's something that's dynamic. Matter affects space-time, space-time affects matter. Photon decay depends on mass. Usually no. Stable, what? Which physicist inspires you the most? It's got to be Albert Einstein, man. Does the average interpretation have any impact on reality as we perceive it? Not really. None of the interpretations do. Why do you believe planes fly upside down in Australia? Because of gravity, dude. If Armstrong had left the watch on the moon, how big would the difference be now to clocks on Earth? I doubt the watch. I mean, it depends on how accurate the watch is, I guess. But maybe, well, I don't know. That's a calculation we would have to do, I guess. Have you ever stopped watching a movie because it was so scientifically inaccurate? Rebel Moon? What are you going to stream on if TikTok shuts down? I'm currently streaming on YouTube. Go watch me there. BSc Physics undergraduate, about to get my degree here. What are the job opportunities like? Well, you could either... I am also streaming on TikTok, yes. Well, you can either go to grad school or you can go be a software engineer. Everything really is just differential equations. True. It's so true. Do photons decay? No. No, they do not. What's the most significant new conclusion based on JWST's observations? Yeah, so there's some type of galaxy that we didn't know about. These are galaxies that have really, really heavy, or that are really, really bright, but not because they have a lot of stars, but because their active galactic or because their galactic nuclei are very active. So they have really big black holes that are eating a lot. How many different fields are physicists aware of? Like 26 or something. Is it difficult to turn your brain off during sci-fi flicks? Not really. Is it dark energy or dark matter that is theorized to be what's holding galaxies in still shape? It's dark matter. Do black holes destroy information? The belief is no, but I'm not convinced. What fields in physics do you research about? I do relativity and differential geometry. What happens to space and time when two black holes collide? They merge. Will you speculate on a timescape model allowing a contracting universe? I'm very skeptical of it. They only analyzed one data set, but we'll see. We'll see what they have to say. Why do particles leave the atmosphere if gravity holds it in? So the Earth has a certain escape velocity. You have to go a certain speed to leave. And because the particles are always bouncing around, sometimes some of those particles will bounce off and get a kick from another, and then they get shut off. Do you think we can ever fit quantum gravity into a theory of everything? I hope so. Is Phoenix A star still the most massive single body we've discovered? I don't know. What are you going to stream on if TikTok gets shut down? I'm on YouTube right now. Go follow me there. Also, if you like what I'm doing, there's a Cash App in the link tree in my bio if you're on TikTok. If you're on YouTube, there are, what are they called? The super chats or whatever. I'll prioritize those as far as questions are concerned. It's time endless going forward and backward. Is there a start to time? I suspect that there's not a start to time, but that's just me. How familiar are you with chemistry? I'm not. Should Biden give Zelensky nukes on the last day? Based, but probably not. How fast are the particles leaving a black hole traveling? Do you mean like in the jets? Do you believe in evolution? Yeah, of course. What is the inflaton field? The inflaton field is a hypothetical field, in the same way that we have like an electromagnetic field, that in some sense kind of behaved like the Higgs boson, in that it provides an energy source for expansion of the universe. The Higgs boson doesn't do that, but before the Higgs boson kind of collapsed, which it did in the early universe, it kind of functioned that way. And so the inflaton field was believed to be kind of like that, but way more extreme, to provide a universe, to cause the universe to expand extraordinarily rapidly in the early days. Any pet theories for matter, antimatter, baryonic asymmetry? No, I don't have any. I don't think about like actual like quantum field theory a whole lot. You need to put a YouTube icon and your username in the corner. That's a good idea. I could actually do that right now. Maybe I'll do that later. Do you subscribe to the multiverse theory? No. Can time be cyclic? Sure, it can. Thoughts on string theory? I'm not sold on it, but with the speed that the universe is expanding, what do you think there is absolute stop? If so, what do you think it would look like? I don't know what you mean by absolute stop. Like, you can be stationary with respect to the expansion of the universe. That's the thing that you can be. Can you ask about the slit experiment? Sure, but I do have a bunch of videos on it. What's the jerk of universal expansion? It seems to be negative. According to like data that's like 9 months old, it seems to be negative. Do you mean Higgs field? Yeah. What does it mean when you lucid dream constantly? I don't know. When are you and Abby doing a team up? Potentially soon. Why are position and momentum Fourier pairs? Because one is, well, okay. So this goes into like symplectic geometry, which I made a video about recently. If you're asking like fundamentally, roughly because the, wait, so you got to give me like what your starting axioms are here. Sorry, I forget not everyone has the same conventional path to being a physicist. Physicists never need to learn chemistry. You never need to learn chemistry to be a physicist. Are you familiar with Sir Roger Penrose and his theories on consciousness? Thank you for the 99 cents, Alexander. I appreciate you. Not only am I familiar with him, I took a selfie with him a few months back. He gave a talk at a conference I was at. I asked for a selfie. I'm very familiar. I'm not convinced. Have you done any plasma physics? No, but I know somebody who does. Namely, her name is Abby. She goes by Pop Culture Scientist. She's great. Thoughts on Penrose's conformal geometry in a cyclic universe? I love conformal geometry, and I hope that a cyclic universe is correct, but I don't think it is. You mentioned the rate of inflation expansion of the universe is slowing. Is that based on redshift observations? No. It's based on baryon acoustic oscillations. Yeah, so it comes from the Fourier transform, but the question is why is it? Like, why does momentum Fourier transform into a derivative? Well, that's you could kind of think of that as like coming from the symplectic structure of the wave equation. Like there's like a lot of levels to it. How would the photons behave if the data of the measurement is never analyzed? Do you agree with her? If you measure it, then it collapses. Do you agree with her disqualifying with the Millennium Falcon? I don't remember what her call was on that, so I don't remember. So I'm not going to comment. I have a PhD in math, and I'm wondering about the Fourier pair question. Yeah, look, the whole thing about Fourier, there's a close link between there's a lot of interconnected pieces, right? So yes, it is true that solutions to the wave equation, the wave vectors, if you will, or the wave vectors describing plane waves, those guys are naturally Fourier pairs with position, right? Just because that's what the solutions look like. Because this just comes from solutions. And so in the wave equation and in wave-like equations, momentum is a natural, I guess in Laplacian type equations. It doesn't have to be a wave equation, although that's Laplacian type. Momentum is the Fourier pair. That's true. But really, we just talked about conjugate pairs, and these are things that pair well with your like when you do symplectic geometry, you typically have a variable or you have a position and then a conjugate momentum, and these are just things that respect the Hamiltonian, and the Hamiltonian in the case of the Schrödinger equation is a wave-like equation, and that's why you get position and momentum in that way. But it goes deep. It goes deep. You're right, I forgot, even in my province I don't have to. True. What's your favorite sci-fi book? I like Ender's Shadow. It's my favorite. Currently in an engineering degree and have a love of physics within it. What can I do to foster this love going forward? Also, wasn't cyclic disproven? Indigo, thank you for the $5. So cyclic was probably disproven, yeah. I just have a soft space in my heart for it because it would make my research relevant. Actually relevant, really, really relevant. But what you can do to foster that love is, it depends. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to stay at a surface level? Then you can read things like A Brief History of Time or The Biggest Ideas in the Universe by Sean Carroll. Those are really, really great books. If you want to go deeper, pick up some books. You already have a good basis. You could actually pick up, there's a book called there's a series called The Theoretical Minimum. The Theoretical Minimum by Leonard Susskind, I think, which actually goes into some of the details of how the mathematics works, if I recall correctly. So that's definitely a thing that you could do. And Tim for Pele, thank you for the $5 on YouTube, the $5 super chat. Is a false vacuum decay in the Higgs field actually possible? And if so, would it propagate outward at the speed of light? Yes, it is possible. Not only is it possible, it seems likely, or at least plausible with the current data that we have, which is worrying, but also you would never see it coming. And yes, it would propagate out at the speed of light. I have a video on this on TikTok that will be uploaded at some point in the future on YouTube. Why is it the more I learn of quantum physics, the crazier it seems to get? Yeah, that's just how it goes. What's the best hypothesis of where the initial energy to the beginning of the universe? What is our best hypothesis of where the initial energy to the beginning of the universe? I don't know if the universe had a beginning. What's the terminal velocity of my manhood when I... No. Why does time not move if I go fast? Well, it does move, just move slower. And the basic reason is that one of the fundamental kind of postulates of relativity is that everything with mass moves through space-time at a fixed rate, at the speed of light. But the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. It's just a trade-off. With the recent findings moving towards getting rid of dark matter and dark energy, can't it? The recent findings aren't moving towards getting rid of dark matter and dark energy. This is wildly fringe. What's the difference between a multiverse and many worlds interpretation? Multiverse is like Marvel. Many worlds is just you have a bunch of things that are overlapping. They're occupying the same places in space. They're just two different parts of a quantum system that can't interact with each other. Are you familiar with John Michael Gaudier and his Event Horizon podcast? No. But you should, if you want me to go on that podcast, email them and tell them to invite me. I'm happy to go on podcasts. Could deviations in gravitational waves reveal new physics beyond general relativity? Yes, that's why people are looking at them so hard. Do you think about death? No. Do you think that past infinite or past finite universe is better supported? I'm leaning towards past finite. I lean towards past infinite. If only because there's not a lot of good models for past finite universes, but there's so many models for past infinite. Is the single electron universe theory bunk? Yeah. Do you think wormholes are real or are they just mathematical quirks? I don't think they're real. At least they're definitely not stable. What is dark energy and why is the universe accelerating? Dark energy is the name of the thing causing the universe to accelerate. That answers both your questions. Are you moving to Red Note? I'm moving to YouTube if TikTok goes away. I'm also on Red Note, but that's not a permanent solution. Like, it's going to get banned too. You know that, right? And I like finding faculty positions so far? No, but I expect to hear back soon if I'm going to get one. What would you say if you had to go on Lex Friedman's podcast? I would talk to Lex Friedman. I don't love him, but he and I probably have more in common than you might think. Yeah, I would go on. I mean, that'd be huge for me. Lex Friedman? Riemannian geometry simplified? Yeah, some shapes are curvy. We can describe those curvy shapes with geometry just by changing the way that we think about geometry. Are you familiar with the Emergency Intercom podcast? No. Do you think AI will help make any significant advancements in physics? Maybe, but maybe not yet. I know John and I'm longtime friends with his nephew. I'll put in a word for you. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm happy to do whatever. Like, I love talking with new people. What's this obsession with Red Note? It's the most downloaded app on the App Store right now. What is the universe expanding into? It's not expanding into anything. It is getting bigger. That's all. What's your name on YouTube? Same name as it is here. What did you study to get to where you are? I have 3 degrees in physics, 1 degree in mathematics. Would you like to go on Joe Rogan's podcast? Honestly, I'd probably say yes. I used to say I'd say no, but at that point, it'd be so much clout. Like, he's had like 3 physicists on. They're all like, I don't know. I'd probably do it. Maybe I could bring some crazies out of being flat earths. Why can't I stop dating women with boyfriends? Stop it. Bop. Could one use LIGO to measure the one-way speed of light via the difference in travel times when a gravitational wave passes through? No, that still requires synchronization. I said had in case you said you wouldn't want to. Lol, at the very least, he is definitely not a socialist. No, he and I disagree wildly politically. But he and I have a lot in common, like, I suspect we probably have a lot in common. Like, we just have, I think, similar backgrounds. I'm not, like, a super fan of his. I think he has really bad politics. And I think he's kind of cringe sometimes. But, like, I think that we could get along. He seems like a decent person. How was your meeting with Nima? It was a long time ago. I just shook his hand and introduced myself. But, and no, I never did video on his work. Nope. Outside of physics, what do you believe you are doing for the world? I don't know. I'm teaching people. That's important, right? If a perfectly round pumpkin rolls off a perfectly round roof, at what angle will it lose contact? Well, it'll have some velocity. I don't understand. Like, the question's fairly straightforward. Oh, you mean like it's spherical? That's a good question. That's a question that we have to do physics to solve, right? Can you explain Lorentzian manifolds and why they're so useful in GR? Well, the universe is Lorentzian. That's why. It's Lorentzian. It has 1 time dimension and 3 space dimensions. Your criticism of Terrence Howard was fun. I'm glad you thought so. Grayson Hawk. Is that... What about James Webb and Earth telescopes both observe a supernova? Wouldn't the time it takes James Webb to report that measure Measure the one-way speed. Nope, you still need synchronization. Why don't quantum gases adhere to ideal gas law? Is there a common example of this we can use to observe? In fact, not even classical gases adhere to the ideal gas law. There's something called a van der Waals gas, which is just a better approximation of ideal gases. Like, ideal gases assume basically that nothing happens, but they're not very realistic. It's just a good approximation. Was it true Nikola Tesla debunked Albert Einstein? No. Also, Jay Center, thank you for the $5. I appreciate you. I appreciate you with the biggest $5 I've ever seen. What is helium? Helium is an atom that has 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and 2 electrons most of the time. One sec, my TikTok live is being funky. What would be the ideal gravitational wave observatory as far as we know? LISA. LISA is the best one that we could build, but we haven't built it yet. So I think it's launching in 2035, though. I think that's the plan. What did you think of Oppenheimer? I liked it a lot. What do you think about Tesla and free energy? It's nonsense. What fields of pure math are most useful for physics? So anything Lie algebra, very useful. Representation theory, very useful. Complex analysis, super useful. Differential geometry, super useful. Why Mon so good? It's not. Did anyone solve the Riemann hypothesis? No. Your silence on Dr. Sheldon Cooper is damning and a harsh discredit to your credentials. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is there any part of relativity that has been disproven, or is Einstein just the GOAT? No, Einstein's the GOAT. Literally never been disproven. He's the GOAT. You might recognize my name from doing similar debates. I knew it. I thought I recognized your name. I just didn't recognize the picture. I didn't want to assume. I didn't know that. Hold on. Yeah, I've seen you. I've seen you so much. That's so cool. Well, hi. Yeah. I'm a little bit flummoxed. Is that a good word? Is interstellar travel worth our time and money? Yes, but only because I think it's valuable to spend money on science, right? If you could telekinetically control one atomic element, which one would you choose? Hydrogen. What are the biggest unanswered questions left for physicists to solve or explain? There's so many, but like the hierarchy problem, the naturalness problem, the baryon asymmetry problem, the problem of time, problem of quantum gravity, the black hole information paradox. There's so many. What do you prefer, paperback or hardcover? I don't read a lot. Like I just don't have time. Are you excited for the Clipper mission? If that is what I think it is, then yes, absolutely. Best way to teach yourself linear algebra? Should you find a textbook online? Yeah, probably. I'm low-key serving Drew Phillips. Who the hell is Drew Phillips? Let's Google it. I don't know who that is, but okay. Thank you, I guess. What would you do with hydrogen? Hydrogen is what most of the universe is made out of, right? Why so hard to unify general relativity with quantum mechanics? General relativity is like as non-linear as theories get, so that's really, really why. Do you think there's more elements that we haven't discovered yet? Yeah, probably. All right, y'all. I have a meeting soon, which means that I gotta end the live. It's not yet, but I've been talking for an hour and a half. So to everybody who's been watching, both on YouTube and TikTok, so if you're on TikTok and you want to go follow me on YouTube, because that's where I'll be, go over there. And subscribe there and stuff. So I'm going to end the live here. Feel free to rewatch it if you missed some. This will be posted right as the live ends. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're back for some more debates. So we're going to be talking about Flat Earth tomorrow, I think. That's probably where we're going. I will see you guys next time. Take care.